Well, ladies, I have you down with about a minute to go. Do wish you the very best of luck. Once again, a chance there on your screens to see this elite field, the likes of which has probably never been gathered before. The world record holder for the women's only marathon, Mary Keitany, against the world record holder for the half marathon. Let's give these ladies a big cheer and wish them well on their way.
Okay, we have the elite ladies on the line. Getting ready to start. 25 seconds from the start. These ladies are going to give a push for a world record. Watch the start go. The fast start leading in. They go to 7. And then the relay. We have 5 seconds for the start of the RAK Half Marathon. The elite ladies are off. We are going to be pushing this pace right from the start. You have a world record holder in this race. It's going to be fun to watch today. A nice, cool morning. And all of you will be chasing them. We're going to get the elite men. We want people lining up in the chute. If you have your lower numbers, you know where you can go in. Otherwise, mass start is going behind. The elite men are getting in the chute. The start of the race here at the RAK Half Marathon, the 12th running of the race. You can see on the big board, the women are out running arms.
Well, the elite ladies have negotiated the first couple of corners in this early kilometre. They've been running for just a minute and less than a minute and a half now. There you can see Joycelyn Jepkosgei just to the right of centre, tucked in behind her pacemaker, Ezekiel Kemboi. To the right of picture there, in the all-black strip, that's Mary Keitany, probably the smallest in the field, Keitany, but she's a fierce racer, very aggressive racer, Keitany, loves to go out hard, but also has learnt fabulous pace judgment as well. I remember commentating on her in the New York Marathon a few years back, where she went off at suicidal tempo and paid the penalty through the second half, but she has learnt the hard way to gauge her effort really in a smart manner over the full marathon distance, and knows how to get it right over the full marathon distance as well. She very, very rarely loses a marathon, does Keitany. Even last year it took a world record to beat her. But Joycelyn Jepkosgei, well, what can you say about this young lady? She had a most astonishing season in 2017 when Perez Jepchirchir set the world record here last year of 65.06. We thought that might stand for a while, but she smashed it 7 weeks later and then improved it again. The ladies have been running for just under 4 minutes now, so you've got about 12 minutes to go, ladies and gentlemen, for that 7 o'clock start. There's a look at the elite men's field. Bayidan Karuki, of course, the defending champion, perhaps has to start as favourite. Those elite athletes not yet at the start line. They're still getting on with their warm-up and their strides. We understand that the men are going for a very quick time as well. Under 59 minutes they have asked for. The 10K split that has been requested from their pacemakers is 27.50. Now that is world class for a 10 kilometres, and yet it's not even halfway, of course, here today in this 21.1 kilometre event. So standards as the sun comes up and the daylight continues to intensify. Standards here at RAK expected to be as high as ever in this 12th edition.
Runners here, 10 minutes from the the start. If you're not lined up for the start of the race, you need to be. You need to get into the chute in the correct area based on your number and your team. We're going to be bringing the elites in the line soon. We are under 10.
Well, we can take a look at the ladies' field from high above. And already there's a slight break-up in the group by the looks of things. We knew that Joycelyn Jepkosgei would head out very, very quickly indeed. And actually, I was told just a little while ago, before the race, that Joycelyn Jepkosgei, the world record holder, and Fancy Jemutai, wait for it, and Fancy Jemutai, by the way, is the sixth fastest athlete in history, would aim to go out here in 64.40 tempo. That's around 3:02 per kilometre. Now, if they do that, they will break the world record by some 10 or 15 seconds, maybe slightly more. So incredibly ambitious and aggressive early pace has been suggested. Whether or not that unfolds remains to be seen. There is Joycelyn Jepkosgei with that rolling shoulder style of hers, bottom right of picture. All these ladies already under pressure if they are moving at something equivalent to world record tempo. They need to be moving at around 3:04, 3:05 per kilometre. And with 6 minutes on the clock, they are just past 2 kilometres. And they now take that left. At Shuhada Clock roundabout, I think, and move on to the south side of Kusam Road after that roundabout, top left of picture. Well, Ezekiel Kemboi, left of picture, is the pacemaker for Joycelyn Jepkosgei. Gilbert B in the orange is the pacemaker for Fancy Jemutai. Fancy Jemutai just tucked in there behind Kemboi. Sort of second to left of that front group now. Very tall, Fancy Jemutai. Looks very comfortable at this tempo, doesn't she, I have to say. Mary Kaitani tucked in there behind Joycelyn Jepkosgei. This has been anticipated, this clash between the two world record holders, as perhaps one of the greatest half marathon events in history. Very, very rarely do you get the world record holder for the half up against a world record holder in the marathon. Now, don't let's forget that Paula Radcliffe holds the out-and-out world record for the marathon with 2:15.25. That was in London back in 2003. But Mary Kaitani last April in London ran 2:17.01, 2 hours 17 minutes and 1 second in a women-only race. She had to run the entire second half on her own. It was a fabulous performance. And she in London in a few weeks' time will be running with male pacemakers to try and challenge that 2:15 split of Paula Radcliffe from, what, 15 years ago now. Well, two distinct groups beginning to split up here with 9 minutes on the clock. The responsibility of these pacemakers is to lay down a steady tempo and enable the pursuing athletes that they're helping, the ladies in this case, to just relax and get these early kilometers out of the way without having to worry about the pace themselves. All they've got to do is maintain that steady tempo, get into a state of equilibrium, so to speak, until the business end of the race, maybe the last 2 or 3 kilometers when you have to switch into racing mode and really grit your teeth and it starts to hurt enormously. Fancy Chemutai there to the left of picture. Well, she has the dubious distinction of being one of the fastest losers of all time, Chemutai, because it was behind that world record of Jep Kosgei in Valencia last October that she produced her personal best of 65.36. And Chemutai and Fancy Chemutai, easily the tallest of these elite ladies, ran 3 fabulous half marathons in 2017, winning easily in Gothenburg and forcing anyone to beat her to run incredibly fast. She's never raced on the track. There is this generation of top African runners these days who don't go through the academy of racing, so to speak, that used to be the norm. That is track racing and a bit of cross country, then moving on to the roads, perhaps in the second half or last third of their career. Nowadays you get African runners who just start running on the roads. They never get involved in a track career. From the age of 18, 19, they take up half marathons and even marathons. And Fancy Chemutai is one of that generation. Still only 23 years old, but looking comfortable there, tucked into the slipstream of Ezekiel Kemboi. As mentioned, the orange vest belongs to Gilbert B, who is the pacemaker for Fancy Chemutai, but she's not too worried about sticking close to him at the moment. Those pacemakers will work together, I'm sure, certainly for the first half of the race. And to the right of picture, Lauri Kiptui is the personal pacemaker of Mary Kaitani. Also in there, at the back of the group, is Caroline Kipkirui, who set a personal best in Houston just last month. In January, she ran 66.48 for second place in Houston. So she has the most freshly minted personal best of the entire women's field. A little bit misty. I don't know whether it's thick enough to call fog. A little bit misty in Ras Al Khaimah this morning. It was, as I said, distinctly chilly when I got up at 4 a.m. And it's still not exactly warm out there, but these are pretty much ideal conditions for distance running. You almost need to be a little bit cold on the start line. At the Berlin Marathon, where the men's world record has been set several times in recent years, on race morning it's always about 7 or 8 degrees centigrade, actually quite cool, quite cold. And then it warms up a little bit during the race period and through the morning. But anything down around 12, 14, 15 degrees centigrade is pretty much ideal. And then once you get into the high teens, it becomes detrimental to performance, I think you could say. 15 degrees centigrade, the caption was saying just then. Well, if that's the case, then it is, as I say, pretty much ideal. And for many of these African athletes, they wouldn't need to worry about the temperature until it started getting to 20 degrees centigrade plus. Well, the lead group here, with what, 4 ladies and 3 male pacemakers, is building up a bigger and bigger gap over that chasing pack. This was to be expected. The one surprise athlete in that lead group, 4 ladies and 3 male pacemakers, is Caroline Kipkirui. Can tell you though, when Kipkirui, she's got Caroline on her vest, on her bib, ran that personal best in Houston last month, 66.48. It represented an improvement of over 3 minutes. Fabulous leap forward. And funnily enough, as I might have mentioned earlier, Joycelyn Jep Kosgei, when she came here last year, when she arrived in RAK, her personal best was 69 minutes and 7 seconds. She left having improved almost 3 minutes, and then of course set the world record a few weeks later. Well, the elite men get underway at this 12th edition of the RAK Half Marathon, along with... Well, we can join the men's elite field now as the masses continue to pour through the start line. They've been running for just a couple of minutes, and at 27:50 tempo, these gentlemen will be really tanking along. Just checking for you, that equates, of course, to around 247.5 per kilometre. 247 per kilometre, in fact. In the yellow vest there is Hugh Jones, the IAAF Grade A course measurer, who's responsible for making sure that this course is measured absolutely perfectly. I can tell you, talking to Hugh last night, he said that he measured the course last year and he measured it again here in the last couple of days, and there was about 8 centimetres difference. That's not bad, is it, for 21.1 kilometres, which is, what, 13.1 miles, literally. About 3 or 4 inches difference. Hugh, of course, is a former marathon star himself, a 2:09 marathon runner, a winner of the London Marathon back in the day. I think it was 1982 that Hugh won the London Marathon. He's also been a pretty mean competitor in cross-country races and plenty of other marathons as well, so he knows this business in and out. He's the race director for many big events around the world, quite a few in India. And he, as he told the athletes at their technical meeting yesterday, in that yellow vest, that yellow T-shirt, will be cycling absolutely the shortest line. So they just need to follow him. Back to the ladies now, 18 minutes on the clock. And I can tell you that they've gone through 5 kilometres in 15:15, the ladies. 5K in 15:15. Well, that is... pretty much on world record tempo, represents 3:03 per kilometre. And as you can see, Jep Kosgei, Chemutai, Fancy Chemutai, Mary Kaitani and Caroline Kipkirui have about 15 seconds on the main pack there. They were 17 seconds down on the very front end. Bridget Kosgei, Gladys Chirono, Tejitu Asmaro, they're all there. All the big names are expected to be there. And they too are moving incredibly quickly, way below 68-minute tempo. So it's deceptive, isn't it? Because with 19.5 minutes on the clock, these ladies look pretty relaxed. They're loping along, but they are moving lightning quick. 3:03 per kilometre they are moving at. And that will bring them home in, as you can see, the chasing pack, top left of picture there. That will bring them home well inside the world record. Joycelyn Jep Kosgei, by the way, to the left of that group, to the bottom right of picture. When she set her world record in Valencia back in October, she went out at almost suicidal tempo. Her 5K split, remember, when they've just run 15:15 here today, her 5K split in Valencia was 14:53. It was insanely quick. And while she slowed pretty dramatically in the latter stages, she still broke her own world record by 1 second. Now, if she were to spread her energies more sensibly, and it looks like that's what's happening so far here today, then that world record of 64:51 is definitely vulnerable. Slight bump there with the 20 minutes on the clock. They're just approaching 7 kilometres now. So they're heading down. They've gone past the golf course and they will shortly negotiate that left-hand U-turn. They've gone past the Ruler's Palace and the golf course. And at 7.5 kilometres, very shortly, they'll take that left-hand U-turn and move on to the north side of Kusam Road. Well, still 4 ladies in this leading group with 21 minutes on the clock. Joycelyn Jep Kosgei, the world record holder, to left of picture behind her pacemaker, Ezekiel Kemboy. Mary Kaitani towards the back of the group, the tiny figure constantly hidden by the other bodies in front of her in the full black strip. Three-time winner here in Ras Al Khaimah, Mary Keitany. Also, they fancy Chemutai, the tallest of the ladies with the big ponytail. They negotiate that left-hand turn now at the southernmost point of the course. And Caroline Kipkirui has really laid it on the line here today and gone out with the big three. How will she survive the tempo as they go through this middle section of the race? The middle third coming at them now, I suppose. Well, we can go back to the men's race now. An awful lot of blue vests there, as you can see. And a big pack too, and this was to be expected. They've only been racing for less than 8 minutes. And they do have their own pacemakers, of course, these men, to take them out at this very, very quick tempo. There was even mention yesterday at the technical meeting of perhaps going out at 27:30 tempo for 10,000 meters, the first 10 kilometers. That, of course, would have been way inside world record tempo, near suicidal. As it is, 27:50 pace, if that's what they hit 10 kilometers in, is still inside 59 minutes for the full half marathon distance. You can see some of the pacemakers there checking their watches. They're at around 3 kilometers. And that's a very tightly bunched pack, isn't it? I count 18 bodies in there at the moment, so there's many acts yet to unfold in this race. Yeah, another count tells me there's 18, and they are moving at under 59-minute tempo. It will be a real war of attrition, this one, once the pacemakers drop out, and we don't know when that will be. Quite often in the major marathons around the world, the pacemakers who of course are paid to do a good job, they're also incentivized to go further and further into the race. I know that's the case at the London Marathon, for example, and if they can, the pacemakers are requested to stay in there and help the real racers through to even 30 kilometers. Well, if any of these pacemakers can go through 10k in 27:50 today and keep going, perhaps through to, say, 15 kilometers, they should probably have been in the race itself, never mind just pacemaking. You can see Muchiri is one of the pacemakers there. Robert Mwai is there as well. Kimeli, Bernard Kimeli, right in the centre of the group. So all the pacemakers up at the front and doing their job well at the moment. Morris, I think that is second to right. That's Morris Gachaga. Of course, at the Dubai Marathon a couple of weeks ago, the vast majority of the elite field was Ethiopian. Well, in Ras Al Khaimah, it just happens to be the case that the majority of the elite field are Kenyan. Many of these athletes, of course, preparing for a spring marathon, perhaps London or Boston or Rotterdam, coming up in a few weeks' time. Well, back to the ladies, 25 minutes on the clock. Kemboy, Ezekiel Kemboy, looking very relaxed indeed, as he should. He's a world-class racer in his own right. Fancy Chemutai there with Gilbert B, her own pacemaker in the orange, getting showing slightly closer order to her pacemaker there. And Mary Keitany at the back of the group. Now, I did hear just before the race that not only do fancy Chemutai and Joycelyn Jepkosgei want to go out at about 64.40 tempo, incredibly quick and well inside the world record. But the Mary Keitany thought she might hang back a little bit from that early pace, and indeed bide her time and hope to come through in the latter stages. But at the moment, Keitany responding to everything that is laid down in front of her by Kemboi, who seems to be dictating the tempo. Well, the fastidious Gilbert B there, just checking his watch, making sure he's on schedule. 9 kilometres there in about 27:30 for the ladies. And that would suggest they're on schedule for something like 30:40 for 10K. Well, I can tell you that Perez Jepchirchir, when she broke the world record last year, went through 10K in 31:06. Now, of course, that world record has been improved upon. But Joycelyn Jepkosgei, in her world record in Prague in April, went through in 30:04 at 10K. And then in her improved world record, by just 1 second, remember, in Valencia in October, she went through in 30:07. So both of those races, she went out way, way faster than a steady tempo. 30:40 here today would be supremely fast all the same, and probably smarter running from these ladies. I reckon that would bring them home in something like 64:45, there or thereabouts. So they are, as they approach the 10-kilometre mark, they're about 9.5K now. They are still, by my reckoning, just within world record schedule. Joycelyn Jepkosgei to the left of picture behind Kemboi has the luxury, remember, of being able to focus on just the half marathon distance. She is not yet dipping her toe into the waters of marathon racing, whereas Mary Keitany, as ever, is planning to do the London Marathon in late April. And therefore, this is a means to an end for Keitany. It's a formula that's worked very, very well indeed. It's her 5th appearance in Ras Al Khaimah. But on 3 of the previous 4 occasions, she has gone on to win the London Marathon. She knows it works well. She knows she can get here and be in shape for a half, go back into full marathon training mode, do a bit more hard work, refocus, and then ease off a couple of weeks out from London. It's a tried and tested template for Keitany that has made her, I think, by just about anybody's reckoning, the most consistent marathon runner in history. There she is, the tiny figure in black at the back of the group there. She's only 5'3" tall, weighs about 40 kilograms. 36 years old now, Mary Keitany. Clearly still enjoys her training and her racing. I asked her yesterday at the press conference, how does she stay motivated? How does she keep her focus? She says, well, I have such a good team behind me. I have my kids at home to race for. That there's more than enough incentive to maintain that discipline. She's probably forgotten what it's like to not be a hard training and disciplined athlete, actually. She's been doing it for about 20 years. Well, 30 minutes on the clock. And that elite field had just gone through 10 kilometres there, I think. And I reckon they were indeed on about 30:40 for 10K. Let's have a look, see if it's come up yet. It hasn't as yet. It will come up on my computer system here. There it is, 30:35 for 10 kilometres. Just about perfect pacing at 10 kilometres for these ladies. They went out in 15:15, remember, at 5K. They've just run a 15:20 for the second 5 kilometres. Well, they are much, much quicker than Perez Jepchirchir last year when she set what was then a world record. Perez Jepchirchir 12 months ago set a time of 31:06 at 10K. They've just gone through in 30:35, so there's some 31 seconds up on the tempo of last year. And while they're way behind the pace of Joycelyn Jepkosgei during her 2 world records of last year, they're actually on a smarter pace. So this is a very, very encouraging performance unfolding here from these 4 ladies. Caroline Kipkirui, the surprise package of that quartet of elite ladies with the 3 pacemakers, the 3 male pacemakers. The world record of Joycelyn Jepkosgei at 10 kilometers she set in Prague back in September is 29:43. Now that was in just a 10-kilometer race, but it means that going through just now in 30:35, Joycelyn Jepkosgei has got almost a minute cushion on what she's capable of for 10K, and that is very significant indeed. It means that Joycelyn Jepkosgei knows she's got more energy in the tank. And as I say that, so looking from this helicopter shot, there seems to be a group breaking away. Germe Gebreselassie in the background there, top left of picture in this men's race, struggling to go with this pack. Gebreselassie, the Eritrean world champion at the age of just 19 in sweltering Beijing 3 years ago. And he followed that up with a 4th place in the Rio Olympic Marathon. He's a fabulous championship performer. And he is aiming at the London Marathon. And maybe that hard marathon training in his legs. You have to prioritise sometimes. It's not always necessarily vital and pull up trees and produce a fabulous half marathon performance in the weeks leading up to a marathon, so long as training is progressing well and you produce a half marathon performance that you're happy with. And for Germe Gebreselassie, who's never broken 60 minutes, his best is 60:09. Anything around the hour today would be very satisfying. The only trouble is that with 18 minutes on the clock, as you can see top left of picture, he's running solo. He's on his own. And that means the next 40 minutes and more is going to be very, very tough for him unless he can find some company and work with somebody, because this pack is big. It's moving very fast indeed. And the first signs of people just beginning to peel off the back are appearing. There were, what did I count, 18 about 10 minutes ago? I count 15, maybe 16 in this group now. Well, nobody in the world has broken 60 minutes for the half marathon yet this year. If we see that mark produced today, then it will be a world best. And I rather fancy that might be the case. As long as this tempo is maintained. Another athlete to look out for there is Lelisa Desisa. He is in this lead group, the 28-year-old Ethiopian. He was winner here in RAK in 2014. Just hates to lose to Desisa. He's won his last 4 half marathons, although he actually hasn't run one for a couple of years, but he rarely finishes outside the top 3. And he's towards the back of the group at the moment in the centre. There's no point in me telling you he's in a blue vest. As they break up a little bit more in the coming 15 or 20 minutes, I'm sure we'll get a better look at him. So the men, this is the men's field going through. That's the women's field going through. You can see Fancy Chemutai there in the centre of those 3 across the front. Mary Kaitani towards the back of the group. I don't know if she's hanging on there, but just little gaps beginning to appear with, for the ladies, what, some 36 minutes on the clock. Well, the ladies have gone through 10K. It has been confirmed at 30:35. Chemutai, Jepkosgei, Kaitani and Caroline Kipkirui having the run of her life. It is fabulously quick so far. And they are at about 12 kilometers now. And just taken that left-hand turn. at the traffic lights back onto Kusam Road, and they're on the north side of Kusam Road now. They'll run up past the RAK Mall, and then it's dead straight now for a couple of kilometres before they turn right onto El Kawasim Corniche and go back through the start-finish line. Joycelyn Jepkosgei looking very relaxed with 37 minutes on the clock. Very philosophical yesterday at the press conference. I asked her how she feels about her 2017 season. Does she feel any pressure after breaking 2 world records at 10K, 2 world records at half marathon? She said, well, this is a fresh year, this is a new year, it all starts over again. In effect, she was saying, last year counts for nothing. But of course, it has to give her enormous confidence. Winning is a lovely habit to have, and if you're in supreme shape and avoiding those injuries, which of course is one of the biggest challenges for elite athletes, just stay clear of injuries. Keep accumulating that good quality training week in, week out. It counts for so much. But if she has been able to do that through this last few months, since that October world record in Valencia, well, there's no reason that 2018 shouldn't continue the way 2017 left off, and she might yet go quicker this year. Well, the men have been running for 23 minutes, the ladies for 38 minutes, as you can see. Fancy Chemutai there, centre of picture. Caroline Kipkirui is still there, so is Mary Kaitani. Grabs a bottle of water, Mary Kaitani, to the back on the right-hand side of picture. Gets a little drink on board. They practice this in training, of course. It's not easy. If you've never tried it, you want to try it sometime if you do a bit of jogging. Try and grab a drink and have a drink and keep moving at a pretty fast tempo for you. It's relative, of course, but these athletes are so used to it. They know it's vital to have to keep the liquids going in, even in a half marathon. So 39 minutes on the clock. They're at about 13 kilometres. Remember, 5K and 15:15. The second 5 kilometres took 15:20. So brilliant pacemaking by Ezekiel Kemboi, Lawi Kiptui and Gilbert B to drag these 4 ladies through at a nice steady tempo. They got to 10K in 30:35. And the 15-kilometre point, well, they've got there. Just waiting for that to come through on our screens. But it looks to me like the tempo's been maintained. We'll wait for that official 15-kilometre split to come up. It'll be a little while yet. They've gone through about 13 kilometres at the moment. Well, 8 kilometres to go. That's almost exactly 5 miles, if you like to think in pounds, shillings and pence, English style. But kilometres is the international currency. And Mary Kaitani, to right of picture, tucked in behind Lawi Kiptui, her pacemaker, is looking fabulous. Looking very comfortable indeed. She has enormous strength, enormous reserves of strength, does Kaitani. Never really got into track running, funnily enough, although I've no doubt she could be a supreme, or could have been a supreme track racer had she wanted at 5K and 10K. But she's focused on the roads, has this astonishing record at the marathon, and is in any conditions, I mean, a mixed race or a women-only race, the second fastest in history, but in a women-only race, she is the world record holder and fully intends to attack that out-and-out world record of Paula Radcliffe come London in a couple of months' time. Back to the men now, still a big pack. Morris Okombo to the right of picture. There's an interesting athlete. Yoram Lumbasi Okombo. He's the youngest man in this elite field. He's only 20 years old, but he's the 6th fastest in history. He's tall, isn't he? Lives in E10. Lives on his own. He's not married. He started as a pacemaker for a women's group So an understudy, really, and then made the top 20 in the Kenyan National Cross Country Championships last year. Then went to Venlo in the Netherlands and ran a 60-20 half marathon in his first ever international race, which itself is superbly quick. And then he really smashed into the big time last September. He came second in Copenhagen in Denmark in 58.48, making him the 6th fastest in history, the 2nd fastest in 2017 on the world rankings. And talk about not having really scraped the surface of his talent. Goodness knows what a combo is capable of. Looks comfortable enough, though, doesn't he, there? Second to right as we look at that picture now, with his vest hanging outside his shorts. Grew up in Kureboy. He ran at school, I understand, and then stopped both school and running because of financial pressures. But then he was picked up by his coach, RAK Kibet, and taken to E10 and refocused. And it's gone from strength to strength, his career. Wonderful future for that young man, Okombo. Well, this is unusual, this mist hanging over Ras Al Khaimah this morning, but I think it's kind. I think it's good for the athletes. We'll love to see a bit of sunshine, but maybe not those half-marathon runners who might be out there for a couple of hours or more this morning, who got underway at 7 o'clock. I think they'll be pretty happy with this. So the men going through 10K. Remember, the ladies were 30.34. It's been adjusted to. I think I said 30.35 earlier. Well, the men have gone through in 27.48. That is just about perfect. The pacemakers in both the men's and women's races today are doing a superb job. They were aiming for 27.50, a couple of seconds off that in nearly half an hour of running is absolutely hitting the needle on the head. That is perfect. 27.48 for the men. And I can tell you that the men at 5K were 13.52. So 13.52 and 27.48, it means they've covered this second 5K in 13.56. Back to the ladies now. And as you can see, while there might not be many spectators on the majority of the course, the huge numbers running down one side of the road create a crowd for these elite athletes, so to speak. Now, we are down to 3. Fancy Jemutai, the tallest of these 3 ladies, behind the orange vesta of Gilbert B. Fancy Jemutai right behind her orange-vested pacemaker. Caroline Chepkirui, or Kipkirui, I should say, is still in there. So is Mary Kaitani. But the big news, and I've yet to see her, but the big news is that I think Joycelyn Jepkosgei, the world record holder, has dropped back off this group, and pretty suddenly too. Well, that would be a big surprise. It really would, because Jepkosgei has spoken very, very bullishly off camera, so to speak, and I've had it second hand that she wanted to go out today at very, very quick tempo. But she's won her 3 half marathons since her 3rd place here last year. Now, yes, there she is in the background, top of picture. She's the right of those 2 figures. Joycelyn Jepkosgei has come unstuck with 45 minutes on the clock. Well, that's a real shock, and a little bit of a disappointment in a way, although I'm sure she'll have a good reason. She's doing everything she can, but Joycelyn Jepkosgei has dropped back from this leading trio of ladies who still have 2 male pacemakers with them. Jepkosgei, of course, will be being helped now to rally by her own pacemaker, Ezgil Kemboi. But the orange-vested Gilbert B is dragging them through here. 15 kilometers, 46.07 by Fancy Chemutai. She's the leader of these ladies. Mary Kaitani, well, they're saying she was a second down. She's about a meter down, so for all intents and purposes, she and Caroline Kipkirui are on the same time. But this will be a real turn-up, if indeed it is the case. With 46, nearly 47 minutes on the clock, we have 3 ladies away, and the athlete who has dropped back the least expected to wither under the pressure of this very, very quick tempo is Joycelyn Jepkosgei. She's aiming at the World Half Marathon Championships in a few weeks' time in Valencia, Spain. But don't they look strong, these ladies? Caroline Kipkirui, the 23-year-old there, second in Houston last month. That was, what, some 3 weeks or so ago. We know she's in great form. Fancy Chemutai, the taller of the 3 ladies with the ponytail, looking strong there. She was second in Valencia in the world record race last October. And Mary Kaitani in the all-black strip with her pacemaker, Lawi Kiptui, also looking strong. Kaitani, remember, of these 3, is the established marathon star. She has the enormous strength that comes with those years and years and the experience of great marathon racing. But with nearly 48 minutes on the clock, we're coming to the business end of this race, and still 3 ladies in there. Gilbert B has done a great job as pacemaker for these ladies. He is nominally down as Fancy Chemutai's pacemaker, and Lawi Kiptui likewise for Mary Kaitani. Caroline Kipkirui is the one who has crashed the party, so to speak, and let's have a look at her card. That's 66.48 just recently in Houston in the USA. But she comes here with real confidence, and that's a precious commodity. And we knew she'd come here with that confidence in abundance. She's world-class on the road, on the track, and the country. And we knew that Caroline Kipkirui was well capable of holding her own here against the very best. But doesn't she look relaxed? That high arm carriage, very similar to Mary Kaitani, whereas Fancy Chemutai has a much lower arm carriage, much taller figure than the other 2. 49 minutes on the clock. Are we seeing the unfolding of a world record here? An improvement on the world record of Joycelyn Jepkosgei. Remember, the magical figures from Valencia on the 22nd of October, 64 minutes and 51 seconds. Well, they went through 15K, let's just have a reminder, in 46.07. And during her world record in Valencia, Jepkosgei went through 15K in 45.57. So they've closed to within 10 seconds of that 15-kilometer split that Jepkosgei produced in her world record. And I think they've reached this point in a more sensible manner. It's been a more steady pace. Indeed, that third 5 kilometers after 15.15 for the first 5K and 15.20 for the second 5K has taken 15.31. Well, back to the men's race, and 35 minutes on the clock now. Let's remember that they went through 10K in 27.48. The first 5K 13.52, the second 5K 13.56. Excuse me, and it is beginning to break up now. Bidan Karoki, the defending champion in the orange vest, looking fabulous. Alex Kibet is there as well too. He looks strong. The 27-year-old who in Lille in France just last September ran his best of 59.32. He's already been in great form this year, retaining his title at the Doha Half Marathon in Qatar on the 12th of January. So almost a month to the day. He ran 61.53. Now that might not be lightning quick, but in Qatar it's pretty quick. He had a very busy year of racing last year, did Kibet. He really mixed it up and to good effect. He raced at middle distances on the road. He raced as well at cross country and even the 3,000-meter steeplechase. He just loves racing, this guy. Look out too for Jamal Yima there to the right of picture of Ethiopia. He's only 21. He's making his debut here today. And Yima is moving really well. So Kibet, Karoki, Yima. And this group beginning to splinter, isn't it? We've got 5 away. World record tempo would be 41:13. And they are heading now towards 5K, 15K I should say. Only 37 minutes on the clock, so they've got a few minutes yet before they get to that point. They're coming up towards 14 kilometres. But single file, look, stretched out behind this leading group, behind Kibet, who is beginning to turn the screw here and hurt the others. And this is a waiting game. It's a game of patience. If you hit the front, you've just got to apply the pressure in a steady, controlled manner. Get out in front, and if nobody's up alongside you, then while they might be tucked in behind you and they might be comfortable, you've got to tell yourself, if they were that comfortable, they'd be up alongside me. They'd maybe be taking the lead and putting on the pressure, but they're not. So when you're out in front, you get your nose in front, you've got to just keep telling yourself, it's almost like a mantra, you've got to keep telling yourself, this is hurting them more than me, this is hurting them more than me. And that is what Kibet is doing now. Karoki, mind you, the defending RAK champion, moves up alongside him in the orange vest, and he is a great racer, is Bidan Karoki. He was second in the World Championships half marathon in Cardiff back in 2016, behind Jeffrey Kamworor, and he, with that silver medal, he beat a certain Mo Farah into 3rd place, and he's broken 60 minutes in all but one of his 7 half marathons before today. So he has set an incredibly high bar as the norm for his racing, has Bidan Karoki. In those bright pink shoes and orange vest, easy to spot. Okombo is there as well, the tallest of this 4, back in 3rd place, and Yima too is there. Well, these 4 moving really well, and it'll be fascinating to get that 15-kilometre split. Okombo towards the back of the group. Prior to 2017, just about nothing was known of this lad, Okombo. He's only 20, but we're going to learn a great deal more about him today. He has a Kalenjin mother and a father from the Luo group, who incidentally have a bit of a reputation for being good at soccer and at rugby. So they like their muscle sports, and that's not a bad thing when you're a distance runner. In fact, he is wonderfully proportioned. There he is, Okombo, second to left. He's a big lad, isn't he? All these athletes are supreme racers there. I described them yesterday at the press conference as like Formula One racing machines. They are fabulous engines, but of course they're not machines. They are flesh and blood. And things can go wrong and things can go very right. They're following Hugh Jones there religiously, and Kibet again hits the front. And for my money at the moment, looks the hungriest of these 4. He's only done 3 half marathons before today, has Alex Kibet, but he's proven himself world-class already. And with his excellent middle distance speed, he could be a real danger if it comes to a close finish, Alex Kibet. He's in the bright blue vest in front at the moment. Bidan Karoki in 2nd place, last year's champion, remember, winning in 59:10, his personal best. And Okombo just moving up past him to pay closer attention to Kibet. And Jamal Yima to the right of the group in the lighter blue vest. Now, he was a late entry to the race, the Ethiopian. He's only 21. We have to regard him as a real threat to the established pros racers, even though this is his debut. He's never raced anything further than 20 kilometres, but he was a fighting 5th last year in the World Championships 10,000 metres in London, behind Mo Farah's wonderful victory. And in March last year, Yima, at just 20, was an unheralded 4th at the World Cross Country Championships in Uganda. Just missed out on the medals. And maybe that frustration coming out today. 5th at the World Championships last summer, 4th at the World Cross Country back in March. And his speed and strength are ideal for the half marathon. I always feel that cross-country ability, good cross-country ability in the half marathon go well together. You need that toughness, that speed, endurance. But his lack of knowledge, his lack of fear perhaps for Yima at the half marathon distance might be an advantage. 41.43 at 15k for the men. Kibet, Karoki, Yima, Okombo. Gachaga is 10 seconds further down, along with Edwin Kiptu. And then a further 8 seconds back, Wilfred Kimitai and Bernard Kimeli. Lalisa De Cisa is what, some 25 seconds or so down on the lead group at 15k. But 41.43 at 15 kilometers for this lead group, as they now have gone through the start-finish line, or just go through the start-finish line now. While it is quick, let's just check the charts. We are heading here for something just under 59 minutes in the men's race. In the ladies' race, unofficial world record for the ladies at 10 miles. I'll try and get that time for you. Unfortunately, I don't have it at the moment. Unofficial world record at 10 miles. Well, Caroline Kipkirui just beginning to struggle now, it looks. And she will be on her own, because she's one of the only one of this top 4 ladies who broke away early on who doesn't have a personal pacemaker. Fancy Chemutai with the ponytail right in the centre there, the tallest of the 3 ladies in shot, has her pacemaker here. Gilbert B. Mary Kaitani has her pacemaker. Lawi Kiptui. They've got 59 minutes on the clock now, these ladies. At 18.5k, the ladies on 58.05. And you can see that Joycelyn Jetkosgei 53 seconds down. So she's well out of it now, I'm afraid, in this 2018 edition of the RAK Half Marathon, the 12th edition. But Fancy Chemutai, along with her pacemaker Gilbert B and Mary Kaitani with Larry Kiptui, may just begin to ease away now from Caroline Kipkirui. And that, of course, raises a controversial issue, doesn't it? Because there's 3 ladies there. They're going to come home in around 65 minutes. So they've got about 5 minutes of running to come. And yet 2 of the ladies have got pacemakers and 1 of them hasn't. And you almost feel, I think you could make a very strong argument for saying now those 2 pacemakers, the male pacemakers, should step off the road. People have different opinions on this, but their job is done. They've taken the ladies through wonderfully, fabulous pacemaking to 20 kilometers in 58, to nearly 20 kilometers, but their job is done. Let the ladies race out this last couple of kilometers. It's been a fabulous run from Caroline Kipkirui. 66.48, a personal best when she came here today from, what, some 3 weeks ago in Houston, USA. Well, she's going to smash a big chunk off that if she can hold it together these next 5 minutes. Just over 1 hour on the clock. The race reaching a wonderful climax in this ladies' competition in RAK today. Well, we can get this aerial shot now of the ladies on the left side heading back towards the finish line. They have, what, about 4 minutes of running to come. And the men on the right-hand side, only, what, a couple of kilometers behind the ladies, with Kibet, and the last time we saw them, pushing the tempo and doing a wonderful job to stretch the field out. It was a big pack to about 3/4 distance in the men's race, but Kibet perhaps has been most responsible for breaking it up. Well, we're waiting for that 20-kilometer point to come up. Remember, Joycelyn Jetkosgei and her world record was on 61.28. They're on 61.34 here, Mary Keitany. 61.34 at 20k. Keitany just some 6 seconds off the pace of Joycelyn Jepkosgei when she set the world record in Valencia. Now, can she get her head down now, Keitany, in the black vest? Tucked in behind her there, Fancy Chemutai, the new name on the racing scene. She's 23 years old. Keitany is fully 36, 13 years older. But 61.34 at 20k. Well, it means they've been averaging just inside 3:05 per kilometre. And Mary Keitany, with that slightly cocked head, cocked to one side, totally focused. She's in the zone, isn't she? Lowy Lalang, Lowy Kiptui rather, her pacemaker, pushing on now. But we really need him to step to one side and let us see the great race unfold between Fancy Chemutai and Mary Keitany. Keitany in the driving seat, but is Fancy Chemutai just playing a cagey tactical game here, tucked into the slipstream of the women-only marathon world record holder? She's aiming at the World Half Marathon, is Fancy Chemutai. On this sort of form, she will go to Valencia as favourite. Mary Keitany's attention, of course, is focused on the London Marathon in mid-April. But they are desperately close towards the world record. 61.34. The world record is 64.51. They've got 3 minutes, 15 seconds in which to close down on that world record. 64.51, they've got just under a minute and a half in which to cross the line. Keitany now, is she aware that the world record is within reach? They come now towards the final stages. 21 kilometres marker there with that yellow cyclist going through. I think that's John Kunkler, one of the course measurers. It's been a superb race from these ladies. Joycelyn Jepkosgei dropped a few kilometres back, the world record holder. Then just a few minutes ago, Caroline Kipkirui having to relinquish the front end of the race to Mary Keitany and Fancy Chemutai. They were two of the pre-race favourites, but once again, Mary Keitany, a three-time winner in Ras Al Khaimah, has produced the goods. Whether or not it's a win or a second place for Keitany here today, it has been a fabulous effort from Keitany. Well, they come into view now, 21 kilometres, 64.27. The world record is 64.51. It looks like they could be just outside the world record. They've still got a little way to go. It's going to be mighty close. 64, 39, 40. Watch the clock. Keitany now sprints for the line. So does Fancy Chemutai. Watch the tape. Look at the clock. 47, 48. We're looking for 64.51. It's going to be 64.51 on the nose there for Fancy Chemutai. She may well have equaled the world record from the 12th of October by Joycelyn Jepkosgei. Mary Keitany just outrun there in the last 100 metres here in this 12th edition of the Ras Al Khaimah Half Marathon. Fabulous racing by the 23-year-old Fancy Chemutai. Mary Keitany, a three-time champion here in RAK, for the second year running, is in second place. And we will have to wait and see with bated breath whether or not she has been given officially a world record there. In fact, the time has come up on my screen for Fancy Chemutai's 64.53. There is a brilliant run in fourth place. Third place, Caroline Kipkirui. Fourth place, Joan Chelimo Meli. And that is some run from her. 44 seconds down, Chelimo Meli. I got her time at 65.37. That is almost a minute off her personal best. Absolutely fantastic racing, and a lot of that second half of the race she's run on her own, which makes it tough. Back to the men, though. After missing the world record, I think, and we'll have to make sure this becomes official, but they've missed the world record by a couple of seconds in the ladies' race. Back to the men, and Bidan Karoki ahead of Yima. Looks like he may be making a successful defence of his title. Jamal Yima of Ethiopia making his debut back in second place. Kibet, who did so much of the hard running, Alex Kibet in third, running supremely there. They've gone through 18.5 kilometres in 52.43. It's the 20k split, though, that will be most significant. That's third 5 kilometres, by the way, 13:55. It's been a very, very steady tempo. Wonderful job by the pacemakers, I have to say again, in both the women's and this men's race today. The 5k splits in this men's race, listen to this, 13:52, 13:56, and I reckon 13:55 for that third 5 kilometre segment. It's almost metronomic running, thanks to the pacemakers. But Karoki now has cut loose. The reigning RAK champion may be heading to a successful defence of his title. And indeed, only one male athlete has ever successfully defended the RAK title. And that was Patrick McCow, I think. Yes, McCow winning in 2008 and 2009. Other than that, after the great Kenyan, nobody has come back and defended successfully. Such has been the calibre of athlete here year after year. But Karoki, in that chugging style of his, busy with the arms, isn't he? Bouncing along, surely towards victory here. Well, he has fabulous track pedigree, but to an extent, this marvellous racer has stayed under the radar because he hasn't lifted a major gold medal in a major championship, only silvers. Second in the World Half Marathon Championships 2 years ago, as I said. Often too, he just fails to get amongst the medals. He's been fourth at the World Championships 10,000 metres in both 2015 and 2017 has Bidan Karoki. Fifth in the Olympic Games 10,000 in 2012. Sixth in Rio at 10,000 metres. He's always nearly there on the rostrum. But boy, oh boy, at the half marathon, does he get it right? He's really found his surface, hasn't he? After winning RAK last year, he was third at the London Marathon in April. And then fourth in Fukuoka just last December. The Fukuoka Marathon, one of the world's oldest and most highly revered marathons. But he's used to breaking 60 minutes, this man. He gets that preparation absolutely right, and he now leads this field, which started with 11 men who have broken 60 minutes today. I don't know how many are going to break it on this particular occasion, but Bidan Karoki is a man on a mission. In second place, Yima. In third place, Kibet. Well, it looks to me like Fancy Chemutai's time at 64:53 has been confirmed. She has just missed the world record, but Mary Kaitani with 64:55 at the age of 36 has set another big personal best, improving by 18 seconds on her time of last year, and that is easily the quickest ever losing time in a half marathon, for what it's worth. I know Mary Kaitani will be bitterly disappointed. Caroline Kipkirui broaching new ground with 65:07. Well, that for her is a personal best by 1 minute and 41 seconds, can you believe? Joan Chelimo-Meli, 65:37 in fourth place. That's an improvement of some 48 seconds there or thereabouts. Well, they're coming towards the 20k point. The world record, 55:21. The men have been racing now for 55:40. Karoki working hard, I think gradually opening a gap on his pursuers, on Jamal Yima. And what a debut this is from Yima, my word. This could well be the fastest debut ever from the 21-year-old Ethiopian. I can't see Karoki being caught now. He's got about 3 minutes of running to go. Little glance over his shoulder there. He's past the 21-kilometre point. 20-kilometre point, I should say. Well, they've gone through 20k in 55:58. and Bidan Karaoke. Heading here for something almost exactly on 59 minutes. He might even duck under 59 minutes. That would be a personal best. Last year he won here in 59.10. Well, he's going to be RAK champion once again, barring disaster. And what a well-worked win it will have been. He's turned back the challenges of the youngsters and the experienced athletes behind him. Akombo, the 20-year-old, is further back down the road, I think in 4th or 5th at the moment. Kibet there in 3rd place, the 27-year-old, who did so much of the pushing through the final quarter, or the 5K between 15 and 20K. A lot of credit must go to him for breaking up the pack. Yima in 2nd place, having a superb run for a debut. He might be running around 59 minutes or just outside it. But 20K 55.50 for Bidan Karaoke has been confirmed. Well, last year Karaoke went through 20K in 56.10. He's 20 seconds up on that. Surely he's heading here for a clocking of under 59 minutes, and he could be heading for the fastest time ever at the RAK Half Marathon. The course record, remember, 58.52 by Patrick McCow back in 2009. That record, all of 9 years old now. Look at the clock. The line beckons for Bidan Karaoke. It's going to be superbly quick. It will be a course record. Come on, let's roar him home. Bidan Karaoke is champion once again in Ras Al Khaimah as he crashes through the line there in 58.42 unofficially. That is a new course record here in Ras Al Khaimah. And unofficially, that makes him the 5th fastest man in history. Yima comes through for 2nd place, almost exactly on 59 minutes exactly. And Kibet there, brilliant too, in around 59.07. Yes, again, the results here at the RAK Half Marathon leave one scrabbling around for superlatives. Bidan Karaoke, on my computer now, I'm seeing 58.42. Yima, 59 minutes exactly. Kibet, 59.06. And the sprint for the line there from Akombo in 4th place. 59.35 from him, along with Morris, one of the pacemakers. What a good race he's had. But that is the fastest time in the world this year by almost a minute and a half. And it is a new course record here in the RAK Half Marathon. New standards have been set. Karaoke, fabulous through those closing kilometers to win by 18 seconds in 58.42 from Jamal Yima. What a debut from him. Lelisa Desisa comes through there. Great marathon champion, just outside 60 minutes for him today. But this is very quick running. Let's not forget that anything down around 60 minutes for the half marathon is world-class racing. Brilliant running. Kimeli there comes through. He too has had a great run. Bernard Kimeli as a pacemaker. Tough for these pacemakers to get the race right when they've been responsible for laying down the early pace themselves. They had a job to do, and then to carry on and still produce a great time is a double whammy of achievement. So well done to them, and thank you to all the pacemakers in the men's and women's races for a brilliant, brilliant job here today. Another very strong run from Jet Koskay, but not quite up to her world record standards of last year. Talk about creating a rod for your own back. Other men coming through. Still, this is great racing. Just outside 62 minutes. Well, the packing by the Kenyan athletes quite supreme today. Dejitua Zimarol, well done to her. Let's take a look again at the sprint for the finish line. Fancy Chemutai. Those long, long legs perhaps giving her a slight advantage over Mary Kaitani there. Not often you see Kaitani having to get involved in a sprint finish, but she did today, just losing out to Fancy Chemutai. 64.53 for Chemutai after this sprint. The pacemakers there to the left have done a fabulous job. Lawi Kiptui in the blue and Gilbert B in the orange, urging their charges on. In the background, you can see in third place, Caroline Kipkirui on her way in isolation to a glorious third place, 65.07. But this was indeed a race for the ages. Fancy Chemutai becomes the second fastest athlete in history, behind Joycelyn Jepkosgei, with this win here today in RAK. And Mary Kaitani, well, needless to say, becomes the third fastest in history with her second place time of 64.55, losing out by just 2 seconds. Bidan Karoki, well, brilliant running from the 2017 champion to retain his title. He ran a textbook tactical race, sat in the pack, didn't really show for the first 80% or so of the distance, then eased to the front and gradually turned the screw in the last 2 or 3 kilometers. And as you can see, he, as winner, in glorious isolation, nobody else in sight for Bidan Karoki as he came towards the line. The clock ticking away. The world record was not too far away. That belonged to Zersne Tadesse in 58.23. This is Karoki crossing the line in 58.42, just 19 seconds off the world record. Now there's a target, an incentive for next year. 19 seconds, about 1 second per kilometre he needs to make up. That might not sound like a lot, but actually it's a pretty big chunk. Nonetheless, brilliant. Many great stars and Olympic champions over the years. Well, we can confirm that result in the women's race now. Astonishing racing from Fancy Chemutai and Mary Kaitani there. Chemutai's time 64.53 for the win, just 2 seconds outside the world record of Joycelyn Jepkosgei. Mary Kaitani becomes the third fastest in history with that 64.55 and is the fastest loser ever. Caroline Kipkirui broaches new ground with that brilliant 65.07 in third place. Joan Chelimo-Meli likewise 65.37, a massive personal best. World record holder Joycelyn Jepkosgei on this occasion down in fifth place, 66.47, but she will rally, I'm sure, as Zimmeror in her debut, the best of the Ethiopians, 66.47. And the first 7 athletes there with Bridget Kosgei in 7th, under 67 minutes. The place times in Ras Al Khaimah are quite supreme. Well done, ladies. And confirmation 2 for that men's result. Bidan Karoki retaining his title, 58.42 for him. A personal best by some 28 seconds. He won last year in 59.10, 58.42 this year. Jamal Yima in the second place spot, making his debut. He too, an astonishing debut. I'll have to check, but I think that might be the quickest debut in history with 59 minutes exactly. Alex Kibet, 59.06 in third place. He worked hard for that rostrum position. Okombo, just 20 years old, not quite as quick as in Copenhagen, but another fabulous run in fourth place, 59.36. And Gachaga and Wilfred Kimitai, along with Edwin Kiptu, all a long way under 60 minutes as well. The first 7 in Ras Al Khaimah 2018, under 60 minutes. Well done, gentlemen. Brilliant, brilliant racing. Thank you.